Hey y'all, I decided to try to make a hyper-realistic pizza cake. So I started by mixing some vanilla buttercream with vanilla cake crumbs and red food coloring and just a little bit of water. Then I cut a 10-inch, one layer cake in the shape of a pizza crust. Proceeded to crumb ice it. Make sure I get the corners real good. Then I rolled out some pizza crust colored fondant. And it didn't have to be really neat. I actually put it on the other side so you can see all of the little dents and nicks in it. Make it have a more realistic crust texture. Then I took a knife and tucked in the little pieces of fondant that were left out at the bottom. There's a tear, but it gives it a more realistic look. Then I took my fondant tool and shaped the crust to give it a more realistic shape and look. Pre-added a little bit of sauce just to kind of see where I was going to go with it because I really didn't know what I was doing. And then I just cut out a fondant circle. Oh no, sorry, my bad. I sprayed it with a little bit of brown and yellow just to kind of start off the coloring of the crust. Just added some darker brown spots to give it more of a cooked look. And then I took my brush and rubbed in the darker brown spots just to make it blend in a little bit more so it can look a little more realistic. Then I took a little bit of white dusting powder to make it look like flour was on the crust, like a realistic pizza. And I cut out a huge off-white yellowish circle to make the cheese. It didn't have to be perfect. I actually left the wrinkles in it to give it the appearance of melted cheese. When I fold it over the pepperoni, you'll see later in the video. That's me tucking in the cheese under the crust, exposing the little bit of sauce that I pre-added. Add a little bit more sauce. It was good sauce consistency until I really used my airbrush machine to add in some yellow and brown just to give the cheese a more realistic color. Adding some burnt spots. Blending the sauce a little bit to make it look not so perfect. The good thing about this is that it doesn't have to be perfect at all. I added some slice marks just so it can have a more realistic look. No one ever gets a pizza that is not sliced. I was struggling. Trying to make sure I get those lines straight. I forgot to record how I made the pepperoni, but it was really simple. It's just like a orangish, yet reddish, yellowish fondant with little white pieces of fondant. Then I painted over it with some reddish, orangish color. And I actually took some heat and applied it to the edges of the pepperoni to give it a more cooked look. And I added a little bit of brown to the edges just to give it a little more crispier look. Then I painted over the pepperoni with a mixture of Karo syrup, water, and a little bit of brown food coloring. And I proceeded to do the cheese as well to give it that greasy look. Every time you get a pepperoni pizza, it's usually like swimming in grease. So we wanted to create that effect. Add a little more sauce. And I am almost done. Just gonna add a little sauce to the center because you know when you cut it, it usually squeezes out in different areas. I had a lot of fun making this. It did take a lot of time, but I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I even got a box from Papa John's for free.